Welcome to For the Artists, a podcast initiated by Creative M Projects, which is a nonprofit organization supporting young artists. Well, not just young artists, all artists. But I'm your host, Melissa Sharee, and I am very pleased to be here with our guest artist, Eric Seats. Eric Seats is a father, a Grammy award winning producer. I mean, he's got the production thing down. He's got a lot of things going on. We're not going to talk about that necessarily right now, but you can Google him. You can look him up. Eric Seats is fire. And I have known you. Should we even say how long? 20 plus years? I ain't
Yeah,
shamed. I ain't ashamed.
I'm not either. I don't like that. I'll tell it.
We've known each other a long time, but today we're kicking off our Thursday series, and we are talking about what do you see? What do you see? I mean, this is the time of year where anybody that's like a man on a mission or anybody that's trying to do something is looking at their goals and they're trying to figure out what their year's going to look like, what they're going to accomplish. So we wanted to motivate, encourage you to really take, I guess, a more analytical, critical look at like what do you see. I wanted to specifically ask you, Seats,
Hmm.
about, so there's things that we see when we're young, like when we're little. I know for me, like from a very young age, I could see myself like doing things like singing before large audiences on stages, like wanting to be Melissa America. I was gonna rename it. I was gonna be Miss America. I was gonna be Melissa America. I mean, like we have all these things running through our head and through our hearts. And then at a certain point in life, for me, it became more about like, well, shoot, this isn't just about what I see, but what does God see for me? Right. That was kind of my evolution. And all that has kind of directed me and led me to where I am now. But we're not going to talk about that right this second because I'm going to flip it to you. And I want you to tell us, Seats, what did you see for yourself as a young person, as a little kid? And then how did that kind of evolve and morph over time and to put you where you have landed right now in 2021?
Uh-huh. First of all, everybody, what is up? I'm Eric Seats. So what I saw, I, I, I guess before I knew that I was aspiring to do such a thing as music, was just seeing my father, my parents, both of them, really kind of. My dad was very influential with his drumming, and arranging and producing. And many things actually. I just had an interview where I had to just break down all the things that I'm doing now. I saw my dad do first. So I guess just having that role, that model in front of me to chisel away, to become it, to aspire to become that. So it started at home, and then and you asked how it morphed. I guess him allowing me to play or providing me with those drums and then watching him. I used to go to rehearsal and was just fascinated watching him play, watching him play at church, and then even seeing everybody else's reaction to him playing. I was just like, that's cool, and so then it changes and goes into my adolescence, me. I guess there were times when I didn't have a drum set, and I would have little coffee cans. Back in the day, my grandparents, we had these what was it, Maxwell House coffee cans
Mm-hmm.
with the plastic tops, and I had an assortment of those, and I would just build drum sets. Even whatever toys I had, I made them into drum sets. And so I would sit in front of that TV and watch the award shows and the videos and things that would come on. And so that just kind of really, really helped me want to just, you wanted to do it. And then you end up in school doing it, shout out Loxa, Performing Arts High School. And then that thing it just a snowball effect. It feels like, but and I'm glad it was that, but that has, and I believe in diversity too. So not even just catering to one kind of thing in this whole music thing, because there's so many avenues to take, and I like to at least get a little taste of them all.
Yeah.
whether it's the symphony, I appreciate it all,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
So you're doing music now. I mean, you're plugged in,
Uh,
you've been doing that. That's your livelihood. Was there ever a point in your life or a period of time when it got real fuzzy and you questioned whether or not, you were seeing clearly in terms of like music was supposed to be your thing, it was supposed to be your life?
ooh, I can honestly say that every stage there was always going to be that music was just the most natural thing to do. Uh, I don't think that I always aspired to do it professionally, if that's what you mean,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, or not knowing if I was going to be able to do it professionally. I guess. Um, I guess that kind of changed when my mom moved to California, because there were different opportunities in California that probably weren't going to be in Indianapolis, Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
and so that too helped further, get the nurturing that I needed in music. But yeah, it unfolds on you, and I'm still currently searching to see what there's no there, I love it that there's no cap in this. There's no finale. There's no finish line for me. There's no. I've never wanted to just have my fireplace mantle full of the same looking award. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think I wanted to be like a what is this? What is this from? And they all don't have to be about music either. So I like that as well. Um, but music tends to get more attention, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's
Does that
interesting.
answer the question?
It's interesting that you talk about moving to California because
Yeah.
similarly, same thing for me. I wasn't born and raised in California, but I moved to California to
Uh-huh.
pursue arts and entertainment. I mean, that was
Wow.
the vision in my, thank God I had a mother who got behind it and was
Yeah.
willing to make that sort of a big move. Um, but I guess I'm just thinking about the people that are the artists that are going to be listening to us right now, because I think some of
Uh-huh.
the common struggle that I hear from people is just trying to figure out, because it does get fuzzy for some people,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when nothing is happening in terms of being able to make a living. I mean, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. It's like when you're trying to pay bills and you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're seeing for yourself in terms of your talent doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem to be matching up with being
Yeah.
able to live a normal life. Then it gets fuzzy and people begin to question, well, shoot, do I really see what I'm seeing?
Uh,
Is that supposed to be my dream? Is that what God has for me?
uh-huh. I'm kind of cautious to make sure that I would never say there's no such thing as dreaming too big,
Mm-hmm.
because my imagination is nuts to me, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I'm not so hard on myself that when it doesn't look like what I want it to look or feel like how I think it should feel, then to not be discouraged. I think of um, everybody, I guess in music, we would love to benefit full time and be able to just handle everything just from our craft in music. But that takes how we have to multitask as artists, and we wear many, many, many hats
Mm-hmm.
before we're afforded the opportunity to have a manager, if you can afford one, or a lawyer, and those different things. You kind of just, uh, and I'm still doing that now. So that's what I mean. Like there's no finish line in this. And it, not for me. I can't speak I can't marginalize like that. But it does get fuzzy. And there were times where um but I guess it's still all faith. I was trying to remember a scenario or two. Even leaving my 9 to 5, I worked at an insurance company called Dodge Warren and Peters, and this music was going on the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually in college. I was going to Cal Arts Institute in Valencia, California, which is a performing arts, college that Disney built. Um, and even still doing all of that music stuff. And I was kind of doing, I guess I was doing a lot of church stuff on as far as music. It was mainly church. And then I had this 9-to-5 insurance job, that the security, the 401k, the Roth IRA,
Yes.
the consistent paycheck check. And I would just do my craft on the side. And then so I remember I got an audition to go play with an artist, Montel Jordan. And I ended up getting the gig. And it started out, his tour was maybe, I think, 6 months long. So I went and did that tour, and it ended up extending. And so I took a leave of absence, and luckily I had they all knew I was this kid in college doing his music and stuff on the side. They knew, everybody at my job knew that. And it was almost like they raised me that office, really. Yeah, really, because I had just got my first apartment.
I love that.
You talk about fuzzy. Okay, so this is the fuzzy we're talking about. So I had this dilemma I was faced, and I had to make a decision they couldn't extend my leave of absence because it's corporate. So she's like, you're gonna have to make a decision. Are you gonna go pursue the music, or you gotta, or keep this job and pay your rent? Oh, so look, man, I had to quit. I chose to quit. And that was a scary, fuzzy thing, because this, all I've ever heard was this music is up and down. But when I think about it and I look back, everything is up and down.
Right.
Yeah, I want to sing out music for some reason, but yeah, I can't stand that when people do that. But it was a hard, fuzzy, and I had a child on the way. Lord, so you talk about our weighing pros and cons and things like that, but then I really just had to believe in myself, and I knew, even though I couldn't see the future or see these future dates and know if this artist was going to keep making music or not, I just really stepped out on faith, and I said, you know what, I'll never know. And it'll probably just end up being a shoulda, coulda, woulda thing. But and even considering people in your ear saying this and that, and the child and everything. It's a lot. That's a lot. That was a lot. But I'm glad I didn't really listen to those people, and I followed my gut and my heart and my instinct. And I haven't had a 9-to-5 since, thank God, and that was well over 30 years ago. And I still kept in touch with them too, because I was like, I might need to come back one day. And thankfully, I never had to go back to them. But I would always go peek in and, tell them, show them I was okay and everything was cool. And, because they did see me go to high school and college. And so that was, so yeah, I guess, and there are going to be ups and downs and things, definitely won't be consistent. And then what I have learned over those years, instead of looking for jobs, I started learning how to create them, and start really networking on a business level. Because when you're blessed to travel and be able to see the world, you want to do, I always felt like I'm not over here for nothing. And it may be for the reason to play the drums, but I'm only going to realistically be playing drums at sound check and in the show. So that's maybe 2.5 hours out of the day. What am I going to be doing with the rest of that time? Am I just sightseeing? There's nothing wrong with that. I like to meet people everywhere I go. I don't really necessarily hang out with the band like that, because we're everywhere all the time anyway together. So I really take time to get out, and I've met a lot of people all over this world, and we kept in touch, whether it's via MySpace during those times or whatever it was. Yeah. And they're still around. And now that I'm selling product, I have, these people that I've met 20 years ago that they like, I downloaded your music yesterday. And so you network, but like I said, eventually you want to start taking notes. So everything that I was seeing done, whether I was on tour with whoever, I would watch the whole production of it all. The management, at the time, it was like A&Rs and things like that. And I would just watch people's positions, and I would see what was, and a lot of people's positions weren't necessary, and some were very necessary. A lot of made up jobs I've seen, I'm like, what? You do what? All right, you're a write-off, you know.
Right on.
Yeah, and you just gather the information that you gain, and you need to apply it to something,
Mhm.
not just have this war story. I've been here, I've been there, and been there. What's become of all of that information that you gathered? So I better put it out. You know, my best way of displaying that appreciation is through my music. You know, because if a picture's worth 1,000 words, I feel like my music is 1 billion. You know, it's just and then really, here's what I love about the arts and the whole everything under the umbrella of the term arts. I appreciate, and that has a lot to do with why I'm writing a musical right now, because my appreciation, you know, our high school had dance, theater, music, and what else was it? Visual art. Did I
Yeah,
say
visual
visual art?
arts. Hmm.
Yeah. So just, and I'm like, boom, all of those things make a show.
Hmm.
You know, and so that's in the future. I just plan to produce classic shows,
Hmm.
and then the things that you could merchandise, the jobs created, the opportunities created out of those kind of approaches, and that kind of dream.
Hmm.
It's a dream. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see the grand opening of Timeless.
Hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, I've learned not to the not to really we're not nothing we're going to be able to just have all figured out. You know, I don't know who we can talk to that just there has this just coasting like that. You know,
Yeah. Well, there's only one that I know of that has it figured out.
who's that?
And the man upstairs, and
Oh, what's up?
and you know
Yeah.
what I mean, and he's not necessarily giving us all the details. There's two couple things that I wanted to pull out of what you said, because one
Uh,
was just the process, you know what I mean, the process of you walking it out, the process of me walking it out. We cannot, that's invaluable in terms of
uh,
moving through that, you know what I mean, not having it figured out but still going through the motions and the activity of the process. And then the
that
other,
builds the character.
though it builds character, yes. And then the other thing that you said, um well, you didn't say it, but I'm pulling out from it. It's like, you know, you have ended up moving into a larger sense of a smaller dream, right? And you
Mhm,
talked about how you're playing, you know, your playing is such a minimal amount of time compared to all of the time that you spend when you travel to go to these gigs. And to
mhm,
me, it's one of the things that I wanted to pull out in what we are talking about today in terms of challenging artists to think about what they see for themselves as much larger than just personal satisfaction and gratification. You know what I mean? It's like all of the people that you touch,
mhm,
right? All of the relationships, all of the interactions, all of the things that you experience, right, are
mhm,
part of a much larger thing in play. You know, it's
mhm,
like it's beyond our talent. Like we're given these talents, and we sometimes, I think, as artists we focus so heavily on
mhm,
those talents,
mhm,
but it's not the talent itself, it's what we experience and what we do and what we share with the gifts that we have that
mhm.
really are the larger vision of what we should get to a place to be able to see or want to see.
Yep, I think that the talent is just a fraction of the equation. You know,
Yes.
it's so many other things that you can't just walk around here and be talented. There less still life is going on, and just even to you make it work. But you what I admire about you is you put together your shows. I've seen you get a create your own gigs, and that takes your people skills, your communication skills, the deals that you make with these restaurants or wherever you were performing, and that's a part. That's all a part. That's a good quality to have, because the less people you have to depend on, the better. But I do like building teams, because, and what I mean by teams is putting people in place that have the expertise of something that I need to save me time, and utilize their resources, and vice versa. putting together well-rounded teams to execute the mission even better than what I thought. Perfect example is Next Great Drummer. And I'm saying, okay, so I play and I tour. But I see everywhere I go, I see these kids are killing these, or just these, I'm meeting other musicians. I'm like, dang, and how come I haven't heard of you? And you know what I mean? I'm always faced with that because we come a dime a dozen, and I'm always like, you know what? I'll just start a program to expose all these cats that I've been running into everywhere. And so establishing that idea, getting that, shout out Crystal Allen O'John, my genius business partner with that degree in marketing, came in and put my dream, took it to another level, and reached out to Sam Ash music stores and provided that opportunity for us to go travel to all these different states and hold this contest and allow any and every drummer, male, female, no age cap, everything, every style, welcome, and put together that kind of thing. And then we ended up having like 5,500 musicians in our database to date. And that was just, but you have to throw that energy out into you. So we have that gift, but it's just not for us to, you know what I mean? Do something bigger with the gift than you fulfilling your thing. It'll just be easier after a while. What I do know is like all those different kids that we gave all those drum sets to, and they'll never forget that. And we made sure not even just our contestants, but our audience all left with something, whether they got fed from Papa John's or Chipotle, whoever was sponsoring us that day.
I love that.
Man, we ended up having 220 sponsors. And I'm talking about a lot of different things, a lot of different people, because of Crystal reaching out. And we were just able to bless people. So those things come back. So I feel like even when I can't help myself or provide for myself, somebody that you've helped along the way will be able to pick up that slack for you, because I know it's a whole army out there that's just Next Great Drummer out or Project CDO out. You know what I mean? I make sure that I make such a big camp that it's just like, it's undeniable, because I don't want people, you have to deal with me because I deal with so many people.
Right. So Seats, we have a few more minutes. So before we wrap it up, okay? I want us to think about what sort of practical advice, last words, last thought would you want for anyone listening right now to really pay attention to as it relates to them having a more clear vision for themselves as they move forward in, whatever it is that's on their heart and desire to do?
My 2 cents is invest in yourself. Invest that quality time, and that whether it's rehearsing or practice, whatever you're doing, invest in yourself. And with your, a lot of times we're looking for this deal to happen for us, or this lump sum of money to come for us to get our thing started. Invest in yourself financially too, before and that's a realization that you're going to have to ask yourself, be honest with yourself and make sure you're not looking for somebody else to facilitate your fantasy or your dream. Make sure you're chiseling away at it, and don't expect more from others than you expect from yourself. Make sure you're doing the most you can do. And then what I understand is that God will provide. And so when he sees that somebody else will see that, and it's easy to want to work with people that you see like they're non-stoppable. You know what I mean? You better get with it or get left. So make sure that you're investing in yourself, time and financially too, just in increments. Not waiting for this lump sum to happen and then you letting all the time go by. And then next thing you know, you're gonna call it too late.
I just have to say, so this is not scripted, right? I mean,
right.
we know what the topic was going to be, but we didn't sit there and script out what we were going to say. And I love how your 2 cents right now, which is way more valuable than 2 cents, people. Come on, like $2 million worth of nuggets right there. But anyway, it was a great transition because the things that we're going to talk about next week have a lot to do with us doing our part before God does his part. So it was almost like you just tossed it to the next week. But I
Right.
will say my 2 cents in terms of like, what do you see?
Uh-huh.
I just want to encourage people to be confident in what they see. First of all, it's like if you have that, you can't even describe it, but it's like a deep kind of like, I mean, you just know there's certain things you just know. And to take your eyes off of other people, take your eyes off of what you see people doing on Instagram, Facebook, like wherever it may be that you, because once we start to do that, I think
Hmm.
that also makes us fuzzy because we have a knowing on the inside of where we should be headed and what we should be, what we want to see. And when all that stuff comes in, it's a distraction. And then we start seeing other things. And then we
Hmm.
wonder why it's not working. It's because we got away from what we know by looking at all that other stuff around us. So I would just say be confident in what you know down deep in your soul. That's
That's
my two
so
cents.
on point. That's so on point right there.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. This is Melissa
Yeah, yeah.
Sharee. I'm with
Yeah,
Eric Seats. You have been listening to For the Artists, which is a podcast by Creative and Projects. And you guys can listen to us every Thursday, and we're going to get you encouraged and motivated to just keep going. All right, that's a wrap.
right. Peace.
Peace.